All right, you guys, happy Monday. I hope you all had a great weekend. We have a lot to get into. I think we should definitely start, by the way, with Russell Brand. Did you guys see the news over the weekend? He's been charged with rape and sexual assault in the UK for incidents that are stemming back to 1999. And I'm dying to hear what you guys think about that. It really comes down to, I think, an interesting debate that needs to be had about the statute of limitations, which do not exist in the UK, hence the charges. Also, Joe Rogan has paid us a massive podcast compliment. Sort of. He called me a monster, but in a good way, I promise you. And there is also evidence, circumstantial evidence, that Ryan Reynolds authored the infamous dragon text message. Remember Taylor, one of our dragons? I think Ryan Reynolds was the one who wrote that, and I'll tell you why. Let's get right into it. Welcome back to Candace. All right, so where should we begin? Let me take you guys back on a trip to 1999, okay? Let's just all get into the time machine. I was 10 years old. The number one song in the United States was TLC's No Scrub. Take a listen. No, I don't want no scrub. The scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Yep, I know that is now going to be stuck in your head for the rest of the day. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, actually. This was a great time, great song. Also, Britney Spears. Let's not forget, she was just beginning to top the charts. She came out with her first song, her debut song, Baby One More Time. Remember this? Hit me, baby, one more time. Man, that actually makes me sad. She looks so young, so innocent. So much has changed. Gosh, in just 25 years, Britney Spears. You had to be Team Christina or Team Britney. Christina also came out that year with her debut song, Genie in the Bottle. Also, the number one movie, or a movie that had just come out, rather, it wasn't number one just yet, was The Matrix, which I feel like we're maybe living in right now, but remember this.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Sometimes I really wish that I had just taken the blue pill. My life would be so simple if I had just taken the blue pill, but I kind of snorted the red pill. And here we all are. When it comes to technology, the internet was relatively new, definitely a new phenomenon. We were using broadband and high-speed dial-up via cable modems. We all remember the sound. That was maybe not the best sound effect there, but you know what I'm saying, when you were trying to dial up and connect. And that was really just the beginning of the internet becoming widely available to everyone. And let's also not forget in 1999 that we were planning for Y2K, the apocalypse. Everybody was terrified. I was 10 and I remember hearing so much chatter about whether or not the world was going to end. And for a 10-year-old, that's quite frightening. So I was terrified. I just remember being terrified. For whatever reason, we thought we were like Cinderella at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Day. We were all just going to go poof. In terms of politics, Bill Clinton had just been acquitted in his impeachment trials for his affair with Monica Lewinsky. And the very first camera phone, not to be confused with a flip phone or an iPhone, but the very first camera phone was introduced in Japan. And here's what it looked like. It was called a mobile video phone. And in terms of, if you're wondering, what about cell phones? Nope, we weren't there yet. The company Research in Motion, also known as RIM, which would later on become BlackBerry, released a pager that could receive emails in 1999. So that was like, whoa, your pager can receive an email. Another thing that's kind of weird to think about is you were allowed to just get on the airplane. Yeah, 9/11 hadn't happened. So you could just meet your friends at the airport gate, like the old school movies, hold up a sign. This was the land before security checks. Now we're effectively strip searched. It just feels like it really was just a different time. It's hard to imagine a world with beeper pagers. And I have to be honest, if you watch the show, I'm totally nostalgic for that. If I'm being completely honest, it seems like things were much simpler. Now, to be very clear, that was 26 years ago. It really does feel like a lifetime ago. Whoever you are today, you likely don't even recognize or remember who you were then. Your brain, like mine, may not have even been developed. And that was my exact thought when I saw this headline pop up. Russell Brand has been charged with multiple accounts of rape and sexual assault in the United Kingdom, stemming from incidents which took place in 1999. Okay. Starting in 1999, ending in 2003. A couple of things that I'm just going to say right off the bat. I'm always honest and upfront with you guys about any biases I may have. Obviously, I've had the pleasure of getting to know this current iteration of Russell Brand, the Russell Brand that is today 50 years old. He's now a baptized Christian. You guys know he's a part of the story, a crazy part of the Cupid story of how I met my husband. I was doing a podcast with Russell Brand for 3 hours. I was late to meet my husband, late to meet the rest of my life, so to speak. And he was fantastic. I had a great time with him. And I have seen him thereafter, watched him grow spiritually, watched him grow from a communist, really, to the person that he is today that's praying the rosary every day. But we all know that Russell Brand was not always the person that he is today. How do we know? Because Russell Brand wrote all about it. He told us all about it. He had a autobiography that was published back in 2007 entitled My Bookie Wookie. And in the book, he detailed his troubled childhood, his past drug addictions. We learned from Russell that he struggled with bulimia, that he ran away from home when he was 14 years old, and that by the age of 16, he started experimenting with drugs like cannabis, LSD, ecstasy, you name it, amphetamines. We also know from Russell Brand that he struggled with sex addiction. That was a big part of the picture for him. And like I said, all of these descriptions are a very far cry from the Russell Brand that I know today. And despite him having published this book in 2007, admitting to all of his prior faults and addictions, and despite Russell Brand then taking Hollywood by storm. And when I say taking Hollywood by storm, I mean not just in the movies that we grew to love, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, you name it. He also married Katy Perry, a pop star. He has been in the public eye, the point I am making here, for decades, in movies, as a television anchor. And yet no allegations regarding his past behavior had ever surfaced, not until September of 2023. And here's what happened, in case you don't remember. In September of 2023, Channel 4 of the UK and the Sunday Times in the UK dropped a devastating investigative piece with claims from 4 different women, and they were alleging that they had been sexually assaulted or raped by Russell Brand between 2006 and 2013. I just want to be very clear here because that might be confusing to you. The current case that just happened in the UK, that is not featuring these women that spoke with Channel 4 and the Sunday Times back in 2023, but it is the reason that this current case exists. It was because of this piece, this investigative piece, that other women were allegedly inspired to reach out to the London Metro Police with their own claims, their own memories, stemming from incidents that occurred between 1999 and 2004. And the London Metropolitan Police announced that they are now acting on those claims, moving to charge Russell Brand with 1 count of rape, oral rape, and indecent assault, and 2 other counts of sexual assault. What are your thoughts? I actually genuinely need to hear your thoughts on that in the comments. What are you thinking when you hear something like that? And I know that they're going to be all over the spectrum. Let's at first listen to what Russell Brand had to say for himself when the news broke. Here he is.
I've always told you guys that when I was young and single, before I had my wife and family, who were just out of shot over there, my beautiful children, I was a fool, man. I was a fool before I lived in the light of the Lord. I was a drug addict, a sex addict, and an imbecile. But what I never was a rapist. I've never engaged in non-consensual activity. I pray that you can see that by looking in my eyes. I want to thank all of you for your continuing support. I want to let you know that our show will be on Rumble on Monday. Thanks for your support there. And of course, I'm now going to have the opportunity to defend these charges in court, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. In the meantime, you lot, stay free, and we will be continuing to discuss this matter. Praise the Lord.
So he seems calm and he seems collected, and I think he's asking some very meaningful questions that we have been asking a lot on this show as well. Like, have we just begun weaponizing the government? It is kind of incredible when you weigh it against the cases that aren't pursued. When you think about Jeffrey Epstein, we think about the fact that we still can't get the client list, that we have politicians who are roaming free. When we think about the fact that Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte are in charge of France, it's just something really sadistic and wrong is going on there. And then you do start to see more and more that you have individuals who seem to have upset the government one way or other, and all of a sudden allegations come out. That's how it seems to me, at least. And I'll tell you some more of my thoughts here. I think the statute of limitations for crimes has always been controversial, and I do see both sides of the argument. To be clear, first and foremost, how do you defend yourself when you are being accused of something that you did 26 years ago? I mean, really think about that. How on earth are you supposed to defend yourself? Where I live doesn't even exist anymore. Buildings are taken down. This is really the time before you could have all of this evidence that you could maybe pull and say, actually, no, I wasn't there. You can check my cell phone data, or here I am actually proving to you that I was somewhere else when she says that I was there because you don't remember where you were 26 years ago. That's really difficult for the defense to try to come up with something when they don't even know that they're being accused of something until 26 years on. Now, on the flip side of that, you might say, well, no one would say, well, so what? We know it happened, but he got away with it. Who cares? No one cares that you were raped or sexually assaulted because it's been more than 2 years. It's weird, right? It's like a push and a pull here where you just don't know which side is more rational. But I do think it is reasonable to expect someone to, at the very least, report a crime before 25 years. I think that's a reasonable expectation to say, at least report the crime before 25 years. Because if and by the way, this may be the circumstance, if someone does report it and the police fail to act on it, or if maybe technology advances, you see a lot of these in criminal scenarios where they'll be like, well, we didn't have the technology, now we have a DNA technology and we can arrest this guy 20 years later and that feels good and you applaud. But if the crime wasn't even reported, I don't know. I really don't know. And I also want to say that I think about how unfathomable it must be for Russell Brand's wife. Couldn't even imagine, right? I'm about to give birth to my 4th child, and I can't imagine that 20 years from now, George and I get a phone call from the police in London, and they're like, you know what? We've got George in for a crime that he committed 26 years ago. I mean, that would just completely rip a hole through your life that you have to fight this. And knowing that your children, what are your children going to think about this? What is the children going to think about their father? You've got to just go to court and do your best to try to prove your innocence if you are in fact innocent. Right now, I want to be clear, we do not know the details of these specific cases in the UK. We should find them out in a little bit of time. The women very well, like I said, may have reported it back in 1999. The current articles that I'm reading doesn't make it seem like it. It seems more like they got inspired by something that was in the press and then they decided to come forward. But they may have, let's keep it open. They may have concrete evidence. They may have been keeping concrete evidence throughout this entire time. Maybe they had a beeper email or a regular email between themselves and Russell. Who knows? We can't really judge a situation until we have more information. But I do think it's worth us just discussing as a society why it seems to be the picture that when people are drug addicts and they are, dealing with mental psychoses and things of that nature, Hollywood loves them. They love them. They celebrate them. They celebrate them stumbling out of the club, drunk, making it seem like it's all cool. And then it routinely feels like when those individuals start to clean up their lives, Hollywood comes knocking. Suddenly people are going, oh, that person that they seem like they've gone straight line. Let me tell you about who this person really is. Let me tell you about who this person was when they were an addict. I find that to be something that doesn't feel authentic. And again, zero judgment yet. We don't know the details of this case. We are obviously going to be watching this case, but I wanted to let you know that it's happening. And Russell Brand, I consider him to be a friend of mine. And so I will be covering this case extensively when we know more. All right, guys, before I tell you a little update about Ryan Reynolds, who may have been the author of the Dragon text, I want to remind you about Good Ranchers, because I know that we spend so much time searching for truth in headlines and via conversations, but how often do we stop and ask about what is on our plate? The truth is, most store-bought meat is shipped in from overseas, even if it says product of the USA on it. That's why I made the switch to GoodRanchers.com, because when you choose Good Ranchers, you know exactly what you're getting. No hidden additives, no antibiotics, no hormones, no seed oils, no misleading country of origin, just one ingredient, meat. And it's born, raised, and harvested right here in the USA. And the best part is that the meat is incredible. My family loves their seed oil-free chicken nuggets and their chicken thighs. We eat Good Ranchers almost every night. And as part of their Spring into Action special right now, when you subscribe to any Good Ranchers box at goodranchers.com, you'll get free bacon, ground beef, chicken nuggets, or salmon in every box for a year, plus $40 off if you use my code Candace. Subscribe to Good Ranchers for food that you can trust, because when it comes to what's on your plate, you deserve transparency. So visit goodranchers.com, promo code Candace. Also reminding you guys, it is tax season. Don't forget about Tax Network USA. The IRS is, in fact, the largest collection agency in the world, sadly. And with the April 15th deadline fast approaching, it's more aggressive than ever. In 2025, enforcement has ramped up, and if you owe back taxes or you have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option for you. The longer you wait, the worse it's going to get. Ignoring your tax troubles is, in fact, the worst thing you could possibly do. Getting ahead of this now is the smart move, but you should never contact the IRS alone. Instead, let the experts at Tax Network USA handle it for you. Not all tax resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, meaning they know exactly which agents to deal with and which ones to avoid. With proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Talk with one of their strategists today because it's free. You can call 1-800-958-1000, or you can visit tnusa.com/Candace. Again, that's tnusa.com/Candace. Oh, I wanted to show you guys this. This was really exciting. This made my weekend. I obviously I love Joe Rogan. He's the biggest podcaster in the world. And he recently had on Dave Smith, who's a buddy of mine who I absolutely adore as well. And Joe Rogan has definitely been watching the show and getting into our content. And him and Dave Smith were speaking about how much my content has changed over the last year and how much they enjoy it. And Joe Rogan said this. So I think this is a humble brag a little bit, but I was very excited and I wanted to share it with you guys because obviously this show is only successful because you guys watch it all the time. So take a listen to what he had to say.
Candace Owens show. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, that's right. And it's doing better numbers than any of the shows on cable news.
It's phenomenal. It's like they created a monster with her. When they fired her from the Daily Wire, they created a monster.
Yeah, they sure did.
She can't be stopped.
Yeah. Oh, no. There's no stopping Candace Owens at
Because
this
she's
point.
hitting all the third rails that no one wants to touch. She's got a 6-hour presentation on how Bridget McCrone is a man. I mean, it's 6 hours plus long.
I don't know if she's even kind of right about that.
I think she's right.
But she's got a lot of to say on it.
Bro, she would be getting sued right now instead of they're trying to bribe her. Instead of trying to give her money to shut the up,
yeah,
they would sue her.
Yeah, no, you're probably right about that.
I don't know if they are suing her. Have they tried to file anything? They probably have. They probably filed some bullshit lawsuits
I'm sure she's dealing with several.
I'm pretty sure she's right. I don't know. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
I think she's right. The whole thing stinks. And what stinks way worse than that giant distraction is that the number one opponent for Macron just got sentenced to 4 years in jail and barred from political life for 5 years.
And the front runner, not just the number one opponent, the one who's winning.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's what they try to do to Trump plus.
By the way, he is not lying. There is so much that's happening in France right now that I actually said to my team, we are going to have to do a Becoming Brigitte season 2. The updates that we have in that case, what has come out since, and once again, the things that the mainstream media are completely neglecting to cover. Someone else in the Trogno family has now been caught with huge pedocriminal network and charges are being brought against him. I mean, it's just completely insane. And what's happening running alongside this is Emmanuel Macron has apparently lost his mind and he's just threatening and going crazy because it's all coming down and people are recognizing that he's not a serious leader. And so he's trying to exert his power in really weird ways. And I have some stories to tell you that I have had to keep my mouth shut about that I really want to tell you guys. And I really am going to tell you eventually. But I'm thinking we're going to have to do a season 2 of Becoming Brigitte. Anyways, that's not all that they had to say. Here is what else they shared in their conversation.
We talked about Candace Owens before. That's part of what her freaking, boot camp before pissing off all the Israeli supporters was, is that she's already been through the fire.
Yeah.
She's been an outspoken black female conservative. And that's they really hate that because they do kind of view you as which is f***ed up in a way, but it really is kind of you're they decided that they're the champion of women and black people, and therefore, if you're a black woman, it's your responsibility to support these liberal white women. You know,
she used to. That's
right,
the thing about Candace.
She went from
when
being
she was very young.
Right?
She was liberal,
and she was also a hardcore Zionist at one point, like very big supporter of Israel, and then changed her mind on that. But it is, you know, there is a viciousness with which those people get attacked.
I totally agree. I think I was very much forged in fire because I felt like I wasn't allowed to critique BLM. And now I do feel like we fast forwarded to a time where you're not really allowed to critique Israel. And it puts me in a weird spot. And sometimes it makes people on the left and the right not like what I'm saying. But I've definitely, I think, formed my own opinions and am sticking to them. And I try to just always do the right thing. And I'm open to changing my mind. I am open to changing my mind with new information. But I think that people are definitely responding to the honesty and the freedom. And this is the reason why the independent media has really taken over the corporate media space. Anyways, you guys, I want to move on from that. I just was very excited about that because it's Joe Rogan and that's a very big deal. And I think it's really cool that you guys have found the show. And we're going to get into some of your comments later about me and Ian having that conversation, which could have never, ever, ever happened on any corporate media show. In fact, they hate that. They hate people asking questions. But before we get to those comments, I have to show you this. This is super interesting. You guys know that I have my tips box. I was going through our tips email box. You guys send me stuff at tips@candaceowens.com. The best stuff, by the way. That's the reason why I get inspired to do the show. And one of you guys sent me something really interesting about Ryan and Blake. I got to present it to you guys real quickly. So, as you know, long ago, when we were just getting into the lawsuit and understanding all of the players, I had theorized that a large portion of the emails that were written and some of the text messages that we have seen throughout the lawsuit were actually being authored by Ryan Reynolds. There was just a certain decorum in some of the messages that I think he's authoring, which deviate from the style of messages that Blake writes. I've said this many times. I'm not trying to be insulting, just being realistic. Ryan is clever, Blake not so much. And she's much more flirty and she just comes across as less focused. I think she kind of thinks, being cute is enough and somebody else should take care of things for her. And she's a bit bratty. And Ryan is always kind of trying to manipulate. And he has this personality trait where he always sees himself as a character. He's always thinks he's a character. But something that I had never imagined as I was theorizing all of these things was the possibility that Ryan Reynolds, and not Blake Lively, was the one that offered the now infamous Game of Thrones text message, the one where these are my dragons and Ryan and Taylor are my dragons. Never in a million years did I think that it was possible that Ryan Reynolds authored it and not Blake. Now we are at 1 in a million years because I fully think that it's plausible that he was the one that authored it, and I'll tell you why. So way back when Blake Lively was promoting her movie, The Age of Adeline, she was starring alongside in that flick with a guy who was in Game of Thrones. His name was Mikhail Hausman. And so while they were doing press for this movie, they were asking her questions about whether or not she had ever seen Game of Thrones. And just to be clear, Game of Thrones was just about to start its 5th season. So it's 5th season. And Blake Lively admitted that she had never seen it. She basically told them, quote, "My husband, I'm outing him and I shouldn't, but he became obsessed with Game of Thrones." She joked. He did everything that he could to pirate episodes that hadn't even been shot yet. So that was a little tough point in our marriage. Now we're through it because there's a new season coming out. And then right after she chatted with that E! News reporter, season 5 premiered. So she had never seen it. And then I had my producers go through her Twitter feed because, her and Ryan had back forth cute tweets to each other for a very long time. People were following. They were both very active on Twitter, as it was called then. And there's no mention of Game of Thrones. And typically, if you were someone that got into it, I got into it. Everybody had something to say about the season finale. Everybody had something to say about, Cersei Lannister, this or that. Nothing from Blake Lively. Nowhere else does she mention Game of Thrones or being a fan of Game of Thrones. So we know that for the first 5 seasons, she didn't watch it, but her husband got obsessed. So obsessed, as he did get the same kind of obsession that he had with Field of Dreams. Remember, he talks about his obsession with Field of Dreams a lot, and he speaks about it in interviews, how much he loves it. Well, Game of Thrones was this same experience for him where it became a piece of his character, and he wanted to use it as he was promoting his Wrexham UK football team back in December of 2023. Take a listen. I mean, this is so Ryan Reynolds. He has this quality. I'm thinking back, I'm like, obviously it was Ryan. He gets obsessed. Like, he just gets totally obsessed, and he likes to envision himself as these characters. Like we said, Deadpool, he's not playing Deadpool, he is Deadpool. And for her to admit that he became obsessed with this, we know he's controlling and obsessive, and he likes to fancy himself as this big character. Like, he's constantly trying to escape who he actually is via these characters. And I'm sure there is some psychological assessment or diagnosis here that we're missing that somebody can tell us, but because I've seen another person who's like this as well, where like they watch a movie and they think that's me. This is actually who I am. And they want to embody those individuals. And so now you look back at this message and you remember something else. The first time that Ryan Reynolds ever messaged Justin Baldoni, he was the one that name dropped Taylor Swift, not Blake Lively. The very first message that he ever authored, Justin Baldoni, he said this. Now they blanked out her name, but Taylor would say the same. Some of the greatest creative decisions that I've made are in fact Blake. The same goes for Taylor. The acting is a small piece of a pretty astounding patchwork quilt of creativity. He's describing himself and Taylor Swift and saying that Blake has helped them make some of their greatest decisions. And that's actually what they reintroduce. That's the same concept that's reintroduced in the now infamous Game of Thrones tweet that Blake writes back to Justin Baldoni when he's like, hey, look, like, you didn't have to get Taylor Swift and your husband to gang up on me. I liked your feedback on some of these edits, and we could have worked together without, A-list bullying, essentially. That's what he was saying. And what does he say? Well, he says, I'm saying he now because I think it's Ryan, both Taylor and Ryan have established themselves as absolute titans, as writers and storytellers outside of their primary gig, just singing or just acting or Taylor just directing, or maybe it says Ryan just directing. I'm not sure who's blacked out there. I'm so lucky to have them as creative barometers. That's effectively the exact same sentence. That's almost the exact same sentence rewritten that he first wrote to Justin Baldoni. Three of us work together, the creative barometers. That's not Blake Lively speaking. Do you really think Blake Lively would talk about creative barometers? That she would call them absolute titans? I just don't feel like this is her vocabulary now that I'm revisiting these messages. And then, of course, that message ends with her saying, if you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons. And of course, Ryan probably fancies himself as Khaleesi. I think that's probably the character that he felt the closest to. I really do. I think that deep inside, he wants to be a queen. I think he is a queen. I think Ryan is Queen Khaleesi, and that he authored this message because I don't think Blake Lively has this extensive of a vocabulary on the basis of everything that I've ever seen of her. So I'm putting that theory out there. I think we got that wrong, and that what likely happened was Justin messaged her that, and she's a bit lazy. This is the woman that didn't even read the script. Don't forget, infamously, she didn't even read the script for the movie that she was going to be in, and then suddenly she wanted to make a ton of changes. And I think that was actually Ryan who read the script and wanted to make a ton of changes for her, which he eventually, as we found out, did rewrite the entire first scene. I mean, Blake has proven time and time again she's quite lazy, and she relies on others to do work for her. And it's likely that as soon as Justin messaged her that, she ran over to Ryan. And she was like, look what he said. And he was like, I've got this. Creative barometer. Me, Tay-Tay. Khaleesi dragons. I am Khaleesi. Don't mess with me or you will get burned. Interesting theory. Anyways, wanted to share it. Want to remind you guys also about PureTalk. Do not get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. These deals come with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines, activation fees, plus more. At the end of the day, you've paid for that free phone that they tell you you're going to get about 3 times over. There's a better way. PureTalk, my sponsor and my wireless company, has a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get the brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. The phone is virtually indestructible, Gorilla Glass, and it captures beautiful wide-angle photos with the next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to PureTalk. For just $35 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with mobile hotspot, all on America's most dependable 5G network. So go to puretalk.com/Owens to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/Owens to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to PureTalk. It's wireless by Americans for Americans. Also, reminding you about American financing because interest rates have finally dropped. It's time to take advantage of that. A lot of Americans are struggling to keep up with everyday bills, eggs, coffee. You're reaching for the credit cards to pay for these things. Well, if you're a homeowner, interest rates have fallen into the fives now. That's nearly a quarter of the average credit card rate. American financing is helping homeowners like you save an average of $800 a month by tapping into your home's equity and wiping out high interest debt. And the best part is that there are no upfront fees to get started. Credit card rates are insane. So if you're carrying a balance every month, you're stuck in this endless cycle. The best way to break free today is by calling American Financing and seeing how much you could be saving. If you start now, you may even be able to delay the next 2 mortgage payments. So call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That's americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, you guys, let's get into some of your comments. You guys loved me and Ian Carroll teaming up. In fact, one of you guys, which was the most liked comment that we saw, Megan wrote, "Love this duo. I vote Ian to take over Candace's show while she's on maternity leave. To have them both on a show would be amazing." I loved this idea. Instantly reached out to Ian. I said, "Ian, I would love to have you sit in for me for some time so that they have content and you'd be the perfect person. The only thing I'm not going to allow him to do is to cuss because I don't cuss on my show and he cusses sometimes. So it's going to be the only rule that I put on there. But it'd be great because then I can pop in and he and I have really the same interests in going down these rabbit holes and presenting information and learning from you guys. I think it is a great deal. I agree with you. Ian is interested. So I wanted you guys to know I'm always responding to your feedback and we are going to do our best to make it happen. Definitely should be able to make it happen for at least a couple of weeks while I'm on maternity leave. So well done, Megan, and all of you guys that liked that comment and got it to the top. Crossfires 311 wrote, "I pray that RFK Jr. watches this and his spirit is moved to stand up for his true convictions regardless of what the consequences will be." To be clear, that comment is in regards to me saying that with everything that we know surrounding the circumstances of his father's death and his uncle's death, I would never be able to kowtow to someone like Rabbi Shmuley. It wouldn't happen for me. I would rather die on my feet. And I do think that he needed to hear that. It's never too late to stand up for what's right. And I don't think that he is doing that because I think there is an underlying fear there and a lot of control. Gabriel writes, quote, "Speech is violence. Actual violence is not violence." That seems like a quote straight from 1984. Yes, and that has been my experience. And I know when I was speaking to you guys about everything with Kanye, it was just so weird to see people that were like, his tweet is the violence, everyone must respond. And then like when we started responding to actual violence, when someone really went DEFCON 3 over in Palestine, they were like, how dare you have a feeling about this? You are crazy and wrong. And we really are at that point now where they're trying to make us think that speech is violence and actual violence is not violence somehow. Not working with people like me. Tasha Shimi writes, "Candace Owens, Glenn Greenwald, Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, Dave Smith. These people are now my new heroes." They're my heroes too. Glenn Greenwald, Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, Dave Smith. I really have enjoyed so much of their content. I've learned so much from those individuals. Glenn Greenwald is just such a professional in everything that he does. And he is just a top tier reporter. Tucker Carlson is just one of the most relatable people ever who is perpetually interested. Ian Carroll, up and coming, obviously, and we are seeing how much he has to offer. And I have no doubt that he will be probably bigger than all of us in about a year. And Dave Smith, I think, is really just one of the most brave people out there because just as Joe Rogan said, when you have to stand up to your own quote unquote tribe, well, for me, it was BLM. For him, it's him saying anything critical of Bibi Netanyahu. You get just such vitriolic nonsense from so many people who call you like a self-hating Black person or a self-hating Jew. At the end of the day, what we're saying is we're stepping aside from identity politics and we're just going to speak out plainly on issues that we believe to be moral or immoral, and that's it. Forget the color of my skin or my ethnicity. Nikki writes, what Ian said about how the times when you're alone, you're with God, and what they want to do is fill that space with filth to lead you away from him was eye-opening and powerful. Yes, so many of you guys really appreciated our ability to talk and tackle the pornography issue. It's something that I've been very passionate about speaking about. Actually, if you go to our website, CandaceOwens.com, I had a conversation with E. Michael Jones, who is on the ADL's list. Another person who is literally Hitler. Fantastic conversation about pornography, the origins of pornography. And it's true. It is a weapon of mass destruction. And we are being told in school that it's not, which is really crazy, that it's healthy to watch a little bit of porn. I just actively remember learning that in middle school. I grew up in Connecticut, so I know some people said that wasn't the way when I was in school. I'm a millennial. I don't know if things changed. Obviously, every decade, what they're teaching transforms, but in the classroom, but without question, we learned that watching some porn could be educational and could be healthy, which is insane for me to reflect upon now because I could not disagree with that more. D. Vonder writes, I don't think people understand how powerful this is to be able to talk freely. It's our only safeguard to be free, and we need to protect it at all cost. Yes, I certainly do understand it. It's why we even created CandaceOwens.com. It's why Tucker Carlson created TuckerCarlson.com. It's because if they do come down on our speech, as they did last year on YouTube or wherever it is, we have to then all go, we're going to migrate. We're going to go to a different platform, and we will still listen to these ideas, because the only people that seek to shut down speech, in my viewpoint, are liars. Are liars who are trying to curate the truth. And if you're curating the truth, it's because it's not the truth at all. Senga Richardson writes, I'd never listened to Ian Carroll before, and as soon as I finished listening to this, I'm going to search his sites and follow. So grateful for you, Candace. Please know that people all over the globe watch Candace Owens, even me from South Africa. I have so many people from South Africa that watch this show. So many people from the continent of Africa in general. And I was saying to George, we have to get a trip out there. We've got to do like a little mini tour in Africa. I think it would be so much fun. And obviously he loves Africa because he spent a lot of time on that continent. My husband hunts. So in South Africa in particular, I feel like half of our groomsmen were from South Africa for our wedding. And so it's a wonderful place. I've only been there once, but it was truly so beautiful. So I'd love to make it back. Lastly, Sapangai writes, on another note, an interview with Justin Baldoni would crack the internet. It must happen. We're going to speak it into existence. When this whole trial is over, me and my cousin are going to sit across. I'm going to give him like a little noogies and 90s noogies, you know, just be like, oh, you're so crazy. Pop some kombucha, talk about things, learn about him. He's going to learn about me. We're going to disagree on everything in the most loving way possible. Because we are just so different. But cousins are cousins, you know? Blood is thicker than water. Blood is thicker than kombucha, is what I would say. Reminding you guys, if you want to buy merch, head to CandaceOwens.com. I can't believe, guys, we don't have that many episodes left until maternity leave. We're taking this up until the 28th of April. So I'm sad to say, you guys, but the countdown is beginning. But you can find tons of other content on CandaceOwens.com. You can watch our vaccine series. We will continue the book club no matter what. So if you are a member of the book club or thinking about signing up, now would be a great time to do it. We are wrapping up Chaos and now getting into Hollywood Babylon. So you won't miss me for too long. You'll blink and I'll be back. And we will figure out how to get you some content with Ian Carroll in the meantime. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.